All right, let me move on to something that is from the practical, the applicable, the necessary, to something that is just completely expected bullshit. I don't mean it's not true. It was completely expected. But this is about Matt Gaetz. Have you heard about this? This crazy bastard, this Republican from the Florida Panhandle, and one of Donald Trump's favorite butt boys, is being investigated by the Justice Department about his relationship with a 17-year-old girl and whether or not it involves sex trafficking. Oh, wait, what? Really? Oh, and by the way, this investigation was started during the Trump administration under the Attorney General at the time, the useless son of a bitch, William Barr. So this is not the Biden Justice Department's anything. But here we go. I thought the cucumbers all believed, and these dumb shit-looking long gun carrying militia types, that the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives were involved in child exploitation. Isn't that what Matt Gaetz has been talking about? This is the way it always works. You get these half-witted goddamn Christian preachers who stand up there and scream against adultery and against alcoholism and against drug abuse. And then they're caught in a hotel room with 3 hookers, a bottle of Jack Black, and a bunch of reefer laying around. Oh, well, I sinned and fell short of the glory of God. Please forgive me, God. Then they make their public pleas for mercy from this invisible person that they call God. Incredible. So here's another example. Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz. Investigators are examining whether Matt Gaetz violated federal sex trafficking laws. This is according to people within the now current Justice Department who are speaking, obviously, on conditions of anonymity. So the Times goes on to say that a variety of federal statutes make it illegal to induce someone under the age of 18 to travel over state lines to engage in sex in exchange for money or anything of value, which is what Matt Gaetz is being accused of doing. This greasy-looking son of a bitch, you knew this from the beginning, didn't you, True Seeker? Yeah, I know. So did I. All you have to do is look at this slimy bastard, and he said, and it just, he might as well have neon signs around him with arrows pointing toward him that say, sexual predator, child molester, sexual predator. Well, here it is. Here it is. The Justice Department regularly prosecutes cases like this. And guess what? The offenders who are found guilty often receive severe sentences. Oh, please put Matt Gaetz into a federal prison with a roommate named Bubba, who is 6'4" and weighs 400 pounds and just love to get some of that white meat coming in here. Right, Bubba? Damn right. I mean, come on. I've just had my COVID-19 vaccination, and I'm talking a little crazy here, but Matt Gaetz. So it's not clear yet how Matt Gaetz met this girl, believed to be 17 or younger at the time of these encounters, about 2 years ago. That's what investigators are taking a look at, according to these people who spoke with the New York Times. And the investigation, let me repeat it because you're going to hear a lot of cucumbers and people like this Q bitch, Marjorie Taylor Greene, start screaming about, oh, it's the Biden administration. No, the investigation was open in the final months of the Trump administration under William Barr, the Attorney General. So And the other thing, given the fact that Matt Gaetz has this national profile of being a fucking moron, of being a loudmouth, blabbering, lying son of a bitch who has found a second home on the Fox sewer, given all that, senior Justice Department officials in Washington, including those appointed by Donald Trump, were notified of the investigation when it began. So we're talking the end of last year. And yet this greasy-looking bastard keeps showing up, shooting off his mouth, making statements. Why? Because he thought he was protected? Hey, Matt, your Lord and Master is no longer president. You can't get any more pardons. He doesn't have any more to give out. So if you have... I'm talking like Matt Gaetz is listening. So listen, Matt, if you are guilty of what you did and your guilt is affirmed by a court, your ass is going to prison, and the rest of you. Of course, when you get there, the only thing they'll be interested in, your cellmates, is your ass, but you are going. And Matt, if that day comes, I will be so happy to see you disappear into the criminal justice system, as it's referred to. Although justice is a rare commodity within that system, but I digress. Now, Matt Gaetz is a youngster. He's only 38, right? And the people who spoke to the New York Times from within the Justice Department said that the examination of what exactly Matt Gaetz perpetrated against this young woman is part of a broader investigation into a political ally of his. Yeah, see, these rap bastards usually travel in twos or more. And this is a local official in Florida named Joel Greenberg, who was indicted last summer on a whole bunch of charges, including sex trafficking of a child and financially supporting people in exchange for sex, at least one of whom was an underage girl. Now, who does this sound like? Doesn't this sound like the guy who committed suicide, right, in prison? Former buddy of Donald Trump and Prince Andrew and a whole bunch of people? You know what I mean, right? Now, Greenberg, this is the crazy part. Greenberg was the tax collector of Seminole County near Orlando. And he was a frequent visitor to the Orange Bastard's White House starting in 2019. And there's some photographic proof of this, because this dumb shit Greenberg, like so many of these scum, had a photograph taken with him, Greenberg, and Matt Gaetz on one of their visits to the White House, and then this dumb shit posted it to Twitter. just like the animals who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Hey, look at me. Here's me. I'm beating the fuck out of this cop. Look at me. I'm using a pole with a flag on it. Aren't I just a patriot? What is wrong with these people? Now, so far, let me be clear, please. No charges yet have been brought against Matt Gaetz. And the extent of his potential criminal exposure is not clear. This is an investigation, but it's been going on for months. Now, I would assume, and I am not an investigator, but I would assume that after months, if there is no evidence to continue to pursue, you kind of drop it. That's not the case here. Now, in an interview, Matt Gaetz said that his lawyers had been in touch with the Justice Department and that they were told, his lawyers, that he was the subject of an investigation, not the target. Oh, well, what do we have here? Persons of interest? Subjects? Targets? My goodness, just a whole bunch of legalistic terms. Okay, Matt, you're not the target. You're just the subject. Okay. Gaetz said Quote, I only know that it has to do with women. And then here it comes. I added this, quote, I have a suspicion that someone is trying to recategorize my generosity as something more untoward. Your generosity toward teenage girls. Right, Matt. Absolutely. Something more untoward. Like what? Sex trafficking? Rape? Violation of the Mann Act? Well, I mean, really? They're out to get you, Matt. Those goddamn liberals, right? Gaetz went on to call the investigation as part of an elaborate scheme involving, quote, false sex allegations, end quote, in order to extort him and his family for $25 million that began just this month. But Matt, there's something amiss there in the time frame, because this investigation started while your Messiah was still president. Oh, but never mind. Anyway, Gaetz said that he and his father, Don, had been cooperating with the FBI, and this is what Matt says, we've been wearing a wire, after they were approached by people saying they could make the investigation, quote, go away, end quote. My goodness, look what happens when you're as famous as the greasy, oily-looking Matt Gaetz, and it becomes not common knowledge, but knowledge that you're under investigation. Then other rats start coming out of the woodwork, right, Matt? Huh? In a second interview, later yesterday, and apparently Matt spoke with the New York Times, somebody from the New York Times, but in that second interview, Gaetz said he had no plans to resign his House seat and denied that he had romantic relationships with minors. I mean, how many people have to deny that? I have never had sexual relationships with minors. He said in the second interview, quote, it is verifiably false that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman. Verifiably false. Okay, well, it'll come out, Matt. It will. Oh, my God. Donald Trump, the orange bastard, and his boys. Here they are, huh? This is a story that I will follow and keep you posted on. Oh, yes. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.